Since the 1950s, state leaders have focused on luring more and more people to Florida as the key to our economic future. Growth, they said, was the road to prosperity, and building roads made growth happen. Every new highway helped turn more farms and forests into houses and shopping malls. They called it development, but it was really half a century of doing the same thing, of trusting that growth, any and all growth, and growth alone, meant progress and improvement. 1950-style development has produced more problems than solutions for Florida. Yet our transportation planners are still stuck on the old developer's highway when we should be changing lanes. For 50 years, Florida's official policy from the governor on down has been to let the growth industry drive Florida's economy. And what did we get for it? Compared to the rest of the country, wages and household incomes here are lower now than they were 10 years ago. Property taxes and traffic are both higher. Crime and high school dropout rates are the second worst in the nation. So what are we doing about it? Mostly building more roads to nowhere that land speculators soon fill up with residential sprawl, costing more in public services than it generates in taxes. Residential growth can't even pay for itself, much less add to our economy, but Florida's government still wants more of it. When they couldn't get it with taxes, they started issuing bonds. So tomorrow's taxpayers could pay for today's construction projects on the installment plan. For highways, in the form of tolls. Florida's original toll road, the so-called main line between I-75 and Miami, was the Florida Turnpike. How its financing was supposed to work is explained in this Florida Development Commission film.
Revenue from tolls and rentals are applied to liquidate this indebtedness, and after the bonds are retired, the state of Florida takes title to the project.
It sounds simple enough, but when the Florida Turnpike was finally paid off in the 1980s, tolls actually went up because the Turnpike District wanted money to build more roads. State law is supposed to limit how much South Florida motorists pay to support toll roads in other places. But almost 80% of Turnpike revenues come from the main line alone. After 6 years of operation, the Veterans Expressway in Tampa was only earning about half its projected income. The Polk Parkway just over a third. Why would anyone go to such lengths to build expensive roads that are grossly underused? The most often cited reason is to relieve traffic congestion. But the facts no longer support that 1950s idea. Walter Kulash is a much-quoted traffic engineer whose clients have included private developers as well as state and local governments.
We are convinced that we not only cannot build our way out of road congestion, but that attempting to do so will make the congestion even worse. And the reason is that the demand for road capacity, travel demand, traffic demand, has an element of induced demand that almost no other service or municipal product has. Our travel forecasting models don't pick that up. Our travel forecasting models say everybody's going to stay right where they are and the businesses are going to stay right where they are, and that's how travel is going to happen. Our ability to exploit new road capacity with induced traffic gets better and better. For example, the big box industry, the big box retail industry gets better and better at drawing people from larger travel areas to ever larger big boxes because we are providing the road capacity. So they're eliminating whole intermediate steps of warehousing and travel on their part because the public is providing a road system that people can get to their destinations at 60 miles an hour. This kind of induced activity, it's unique to traffic. Doesn't happen with other municipal services. For example, if we increase the size of our wastewater treatment plant, used to be called sewer plants, increase the size of that, people don't use the bathroom more. That's a fixed amount, and so building a bigger capacity works. When we build more roads, yes, people move faster for a little while, but then what happens? They start moving farther, and they start moving much more, and so we quickly find that we have not solved the congestion problem. We have spread congestion, the same amount of congestion, over even a greater area. There's some serious research on this now. Well, one of the leading places, for example, is the University of California at Berkeley, and they've come up with an aggregate statistic that confirms what a lot of people just know from what they see on the street, which is that within 5 years after the completion of major new capacity, typically meaning freeways or widening of freeways, within 5 years, slightly over 90% of that capacity is totally consumed with new induced traffic that we had no idea was going to be there.
Things are not always what they seem. The sun may look like it revolves around the earth, just as building roads may look like a traffic solution. But neither idea is true. Florida is only the 22nd of our states in area, but it's the 4th largest in population. That disparity means we're already putting people into environmentally sensitive areas. These yellow areas are the areas of maximum recharge for the Floridan aquifer, the main source of water for the entire state. We can't afford to pave over these places as we've done all around them. Yet Florida's newest toll road, the Suncoast Parkway, is intended to generate new growth in this critical region.
The veterans combined with the Suncoast Parkway 1, and then eventually if it's built to Suncoast Parkway 2, will represent an 80-mile transportation corridor, which will be a major benefit to this region of the state.
This can open up the center of the county for economic development, so I think it's going to be a boost to Pasco County.
The Suncoast Parkway can only be a major benefit to this region of the state if new growth generates enough problems on existing roads to make people willing to pay for driving it. Right now, it's so far from being a transportation improvement that they have to advertise for users. This road is a good example of everything that has gone wrong with development in the Sunshine State. From an environmental perspective, it's a road that should never have been built. When the state started planning it, they first looked for money from the federal government. That required an environmental impact study. The Federal Highway Administration decided that the environmentally preferred alternative was not to build the road. The Turnpike District issued bonds and built it anyway. So, Olga Blanco now has Project 1 of the Suncoast Toll Road in her backyard.